Hello and welcome back to Smash Hit Sports. I'm your host, Cody. Today, Nick and I are going to give our season predictions for the Big Ten. And this is one of the most exciting conferences in college football. We have some realignment coming, but it's not here yet. We have teams who just fired their coach within the last week. We have a whole bunch of shit going on in the Big Ten. It is definitely not the most boring conference. And we get a nice little outside perspective on this because neither of our teams are in this conference, and it just feels Big Ten football just feels right. There's something about a really shitty game between two Big Ten West teams that just really get you going.
Yeah, well, so what I'll say is definitely not the most boring conference, but it won't be the most exciting until they figure out getting rid of divisions, because we're all tired of having Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State on the right side, and on the left it being Iowa or Wisconsin,
Purdue last year.
I think last year, yeah. There's that, and there's neither of our teams are in the Big Ten, so we are unbiased. And yeah, we have USC and UCLA coming in. So this is kind of like the last chance for some of these teams to really give it their all and fight for the title, because you're going to have two really good teams coming in. So,
yep, and I want to start with Illinois. We're going to go in alphabetical order here just to keep it simple, but Illinois, Brett Bielema's squad had a phenomenal defense last year. They lost their defensive coordinator, which is always a hit. He is now the head coach at Purdue, but that defense is still going to be great. I think it's going to be one of the best defenses in the Big Ten and possibly one of the best defenses in all of college football. They can get after the quarterback. They've got a good secondary on the back end, even though they did lose, I believe it was Devin Weatherspoon, was drafted by the Seattle Seahawks.
I think they lost a couple people. Yeah, I mean, Witherspoon's gone. I think they lost a safety and maybe a late-round corner.
Yeah, but Bielema knows ball, man. He knows how to coach a defense. What are your thoughts on Illinois this year?
Well, first of all, it's crazy that Illinois is first as far as alphabetical order in the Big Ten.
Yeah, with an I?
With an I.
I was stunned when I saw that.
That'd be like almost like bottom half in the ACC. But Illinois is a team that does not excite me. I do think that Bielema is a good coach and that they have enough talent that stayed on that defense, like what you're saying. I honestly don't think their secondary is going to be great, but I like some prospects on their front seven from what I've been seeing. I just don't think they're going to reach a bowl. Maybe they go 6-6, but I have them at 5-7.
Okay, so the win total for Illinois, just for what it's worth, is, if I can find it. Damn, what are we doing here? The win total for Illinois is 6.5.
Yeah.
And I feel pretty good about it. They have a quarterback transfer that I'm really excited in. Luke Altmaier, I believe, transferred in from Ole Miss, which, if anybody knows how to evaluate the quarterback position, like, I kind of trust in Lane Kiffin. So we'll see. But
right, but it's about whether or not Illinois can produce the quarterback position.
Yeah.
Where did Tommy DeVito go? Is he gone?
Yeah, Tommy DeVito. I believe
was he gone last year?
No, last year was his last year.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was
Illinois.
tripping.
I believe he was either a late round draft pick or he was signed with a team. I follow him on Instagram, but I'm not 100% sure where he went. That being said, I have Illinois at 8-4. I think their defense.
So we're starting off with a big difference here.
Yeah, I think their defense is going to be good enough for them to win some. I think where we probably differ in matchup is I have Illinois beating Wisconsin at home. I'm going to say we probably do not have that.
Yeah, I have
matchup
Wisconsin winning that game.
Same. And then Nebraska, I have Illinois winning that game at home.
I have Nebraska winning that game.
So, yep. So
that does it right there. Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, I feel great about that defense, but either way, I don't know how I feel about 6.5. I still, even though I am predicting 8-4, like if the quarterback doesn't step in and feel comfortable right away, like a lot of those, coin flip games could not go their way. So I'm going to stay away from this from a betting perspective, but That's my take. I think Illinois will be a fun team to watch. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to gamble on it, I would feel confident enough to sprinkle on the under, but not like a lot. You know what I mean? Just because I don't know the team that well, because it's just never been a team that, you know, throws interest at you.
Yep.
So I'm hoping that I catch a couple games this year, but we'll see. It's Illinois. So.
Yep. Let's talk about a team that I will probably watch zero of this year in the Indiana Hoosiers. Tom Allen and that team, not what I would call a powerhouse. They do have, and double check, most losses in college football history. I believe it is Indiana has the most losses in the history of college football. They do. They have 704 losses. The first team to cross 700. Northwestern is at 697. So,
yeah, there's your Big Ten for you.
Yeah, I almost said Irish. Disgusting. Ew. I don't think the Hoosiers are going to do very well this year. Their win total is 4. What do you think of this Hoosier team? Do you have any thoughts?
I mean, I remember like it was yesterday watching them play, I think Penn State when they had Michael Penix.
Yeah.
Penix. I like to say Penix, though.
He had that dive at the at the pylon.
Yes, and like
that was awesome.
Indiana football was electric, and they were back, and I was like, oh my god. My buddy got like his jersey. Because, I mean, again, it's Penix, so it's funny.
Yeah.
But, yeah, then they just kind of fell off the map back to old Hoosier way. They're a basketball state.
That they
are. They're gonna go 4-8. That's what I have them at.
Wow. You have significantly more confidence in the Irish than I do. I am at 2-10.
The Irish.
Why am I saying that, dude?
You just can't stop thinking about Notre Dame.
Oh, my God, dude.
Like a true Notre Dame fan right there.
Dude, I can't stop thinking about them. Notre Dame is my team.
That's why we hate Notre Dame fans, right?
Fuck
right,
you.
Audience?
Here's college football revolves around Notre Dame. It's God's team. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
Walked into that
one. Let's move away from the Hoosiers, but I have the Hoosiers going 2-10. They're 2 wins against Akron at home, against Indiana State at home. They lose every other damn football game. They start against Ohio State. They might lose by 70 week 1. So
yeah. Get excited, Indiana fans, if you're listening. Can't wait for football, right? All right, yeah, we'll move on.
We're back. Iowa. Speaking of just absolutely exciting. My prediction for Iowa this year is that they fire their offensive coordinator. Not really, but Iowa is an interesting team, right? Because you have the biggest case of nepotism we've maybe ever seen, in which the fact that Iowa averages 25 points a game, and most of that is like from the defense, and yet the offensive coordinator has kept his job because it's the head coach's son. That being said, I don't feel they have Cade McNamara, transferred from Michigan to Iowa. What are your thoughts on the Hawkeyes?
Yeah, I mean, John Rothstein, college basketball guru. He always says
Savant.
Iowa. Yeah, savant is a good way to put it. He'll just say Iowa basketball, a family business, because just twins and brothers and triplets and father son, everything in Iowa is just family, and of course football's the same way. So. Yeah, I mean, I like Cade McNamara a lot, so I have them making a bowl game. I have them dropping the Iowa State game, but I think that's really a toss-up. We'll get there when we talk Big 12. So I think they could go 7-5, but I got them at 6-6. I think their offense cannot get worse from last year. It just can't. And they have a new quarterback. So it just can't. It can't. I know I'd be surprised, but it just can't. So, and I still like their defense. I know they lost Jack Campbell and a couple other guys, but it's Iowa. It's the Husky white boys from Iowa that they care so much about their state, and I just don't think Iowa's ever going to go below 6-6 deep down, because that state as a whole, they care too much. So
yes,
I got them at 6-6, 7-5. We'll say 7-5 for now, but.
having been to Kinnick Stadium, it is an incredible environment. They are loud. That crowd is really. They say some things that I probably shouldn't repeat on YouTube, but they are one passionate fan base. I'm higher on Iowa than you are, actually. Their win total is 8. I have Iowa going 9-3. Losses to Penn State, Wisconsin, and Nebraska at the end of the year. I feel pretty good about the Hawkeyes, but they don't play outside of Penn State. They don't play a ton of power in the Big Ten. So
see, it's funny because we just talked Illinois, and I have Illinois beating Iowa, and you don't. Yeah. So that takes one back from. We'll have to compare that schedule, but I don't know. They don't play incredible competition. I just feel like everyone they play is sort of evenly matched with them in conference. That's the Big Ten.
Yep, gotta love it. Same year, different year, same story. Let's move on to a team that actually does have a little bit of excitement, at least in my mind, and that's the Maryland Terrapins. They have one of the most exciting quarterbacks in college football in my mind in Talia Tagovailoa. While you get some good and bad with him, right? The plays he makes when he is on are unbelievable. He also will have a 3-interception game at some point this year. I don't know when it'll be, but it will happen. I think he had 2 of them last year. It's just one of those where you got to take the good and the bad with him, but he does like to get frisky. I think that team's going to be pretty solid. What are your thoughts on Maryland?
Yeah, I think that last year there were a lot of flashes, and they just weren't mature enough to pull through in some moments, right? We all watched that Ohio State game. We all thought to ourselves in the fourth quarter, wow, Maryland's actually going to do it. And naturally they didn't. And I feel like that's the same tale of the tape with Maryland, Ohio State, the past 5 years. But I just feel like now we have a higher maturity level because they have a lot of returning talent, a lot of returning production, and barring the Ohio State and the Michigan game, I think they could win every other game. So that's what I have them going 10-2.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
I really like that team.
Their win total is 6.5. Mm-hmm. I certainly do not have them at 10-2. However, I do have them at 7-5. The beginning of their schedule is pretty easy for the most part. Their first 3 games are Towson, Charlotte, and Virginia, all at home.
I got them going 3-0 there.
They get Michigan State at Michigan State. I have them winning that game. And then they play at home against Indiana. I mean, I think it would be insane for Maryland to start anything less than 4-1. Anything less than 4-1 would just be a complete and total shock. I think they're a good squad. I mean,
right, and there's something to be said about starting 5-0 and what that does to a team's confidence, especially an older team now.
That's a great point.
You know what I mean? Point. You start 5-0, and then you're rolling into some of these tougher games, whether it be on the road or at home, and you're putting up a good fight. I feel like there's a chance that Maryland could topple one of the big dogs in the conference, but maybe drop another one and end up 10-2. But as of right now, I just have them losing the obvious ones and then just having some sort of, last year, for instance, and this will help just with my overall viewpoint, but I had TCU going undefeated last year and was called crazy.
That's just an insane take. That even for it to be right retroactively, you are still crazy for that.
I understand. But you can sort of pick up on weird things here and there, energy and Team of Destiny vibes. And TCU, absolutely had it last year. And I have an article with proof of it. And obviously they didn't even end up going undefeated. They lost at the very end. But I'm proud of that take, and I feel like Maryland is sort of...
They still went undefeated regular season. They lost in the conference championship.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Yep. And
that's crazy.
Yeah. Funny enough, though, I think I had them going undefeated and not making the playoff because that's just the most TCU thing to ever happen. Yeah. But luckily, it worked out that they got to play and they got a win. But I feel like Maryland is this year's TCU in my brain.
Bro, you have to post. I need to see the post of that article on your Instagram or Twitter or whatever. Make sure you follow.
Find it
Nick
on my LinkedIn if you need it.
On your LinkedIn, bro? What?
That's where it is. I'll post it somewhere else if you want. Or I'll make like a TikTok about it.
You absolutely should. That would be the fact that like if you could timestamp and date that. Holy shit, dude! That
How
would
about
be
this,
insane.
Cody? How about this? When Maryland goes 10-2, I'll clip this and post it, and then also go into my TCU prediction, and then it'll be like, wow, double victory lap.
Dude, I think we may just have to hammer Maryland's win total. I mean, they're 6.5. I felt like 7. I felt was really good for them. If you're saying 10-2, we might just have to hammer that. Maybe that's the squad ride.
No,
the squad
I'm all
rides
over
with
it.
the squad rides with the Terps. Let's go.
Yeah, if anyone wants to ride with us. Yeah.
I need to know. You said 10-2. They do play Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan.
I got them beating Penn State.
Okay.
Yep.
Speaking, that's all right. I can't go there yet. Let's talk Michigan. The college football playoff did not treat them kindly. They played against TCU. Michigan played one of the worst games they played all season. TCU played just about as good of a football game as TCU could have played, and they won that game. J.J. McCarthy's pick sixes were back-breaking, to say the least. And I've had some Michigan fans in my comments being like, but yeah, if you look at the game without the 2 pick sixes, I was like, that seems like a pretty fucking important part there to just leave out like his 2 incredibly negative plays. But,
right, yeah. If you take away all the bad things that happened, we played well.
Yeah, no way. Crazy.
Yep.
So what are your thoughts on Michigan? I believe Michigan's win total is 10.5.
Yeah, and I lean slightly under. I'm bigger on Ohio State this year than I am Michigan.
Okay.
Last year I was bigger on Michigan. I wasn't ever a CJ Stroud guy. I think we've covered this already.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
Now that he's gone, I almost feel like I like Ohio State to take back that reign. And also, I think Ohio State's going to do everything in their goddamn power to win against Michigan this year. So I have Michigan dropping that game to Ohio State. And then I have Penn State beating Michigan. I think that is kind of... I don't love that I have that because I don't believe in it as much, but it's just something about like the averaging out of records that it just makes sense. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Because like I think you might be higher on Penn State than I am, but I don't know. We'll get to Penn State later. Go on.
I think there may be one elite level quarterback in the Big Ten. At best, I think there's one elite level quarterback in the Big Ten, and I don't think it's J.J. McCarthy. I like Michigan. They're going to be a phenomenal defensive team again. They're going to run the ball down your throat offensively. They're going to be a very, very, very good team. I think Michigan sneaks into the college football playoff at the 4 spot. The more I sit here and think about it, I take back my am updating my college football playoff a little bit. I did have another team at 4, but I'm putting Michigan at 4. I do have them losing to Penn State, though. I have them beating Ohio State. That game is at the Big House, which I think is going to be really tough. But big noon kickoff in Happy Valley. I think Penn State takes that one. Drew Aller shows us that he is Himothy.
Yeah, I just feel like Penn State's due for a win against one of those teams, whether it be Ohio State or Michigan. And like you just said, it's up there, big noon kickoff, going to be absolutely rowdy. And yeah, I think Penn State gets them. And then I think Ohio State gets them, and then obviously that means Michigan goes 10-2. They're not in the Big Ten championship game, and they're probably playing in a New Year's Six Bowl.
That's fair. I don't hate that take. Let's talk about the other team up in the mitten in Michigan State. They are, you want to talk about a team that is just straight up not set up for success. Michigan State's last 6 games are Michigan at Michigan. Hold on, let me show. Okay, Michigan at Michigan State, Then Michigan State at Minnesota, Nebraska at Michigan State at Ohio State, Michigan State at Indiana, and then Penn State at Michigan State, except that game is played in Detroit at Ford Field. So they have, in their last 6 weeks, 2 true home, or since from their bye week on. No, this is insane. That's crazy. From week 5 on, they have 2 home games.
Two home games, yeah.
True home games from week 5 on.
But
that's insane.
It's like, obviously, I have them dropping like the Washington and the Ohio State.
Yep.
And Indiana, we already went over. I have Michigan State beating Indiana. I don't care about home or away. I got Michigan State winning that game. I think where we might differ is that I have Michigan State beating Penn State. Now, to be fair, I don't think I knew that it was in Detroit. I thought that it was a home game for Michigan State, a rivalry week. End of season, Michigan State, kind of bubble bowl team, really going for it. Penn State, nothing much to play for anymore.
Yep.
So maybe I change it, but as of right now, yeah, I have Michigan State beating Penn State and then taking L's to Maryland, Michigan, Washington, Ohio State, and I don't remember, but we went over it.
That's fair. For what it's worth, Michigan State's win total is 5. I have Michigan State at that number. I have them going 5-7. They'll win the games they should. I think they beat Rutgers and Indiana, Central Michigan and Richmond. They'll beat those teams. I also have them beating Nebraska at home.
I think I do as well. I got Michigan State 7-5.
Even without Peyton Thorne and Keon Coleman transferring out, you're losing your starting quarterback and your number 1 wide receiver. I don't know how their offense looks.
I feel like concerned. I've seen enough from, obviously, if you like college football and you're listening to this, odds are Hayes Fauquet and, Tipton Ed. It's all these accounts that come up every time I open Instagram, and I've seen enough of Michigan State pop up where I'm sensing a culture switch up there, and it's been long overdue. So maybe it's bold, but for me, 7-5 for Michigan State is an incredible year.
I would agree with that.
I'm predicting them to be extremely happy and 7-5. So I'm not surprised that the win total's 5 at all, because I do think that I'm overestimating them. Again, based on just my gut telling me that something's changing. That's all.
Fair enough.
There's something to be said when all the talk is oh, you're losing these great players, like the Chiefs losing Tyreek Hill, oh, they're going to stink. It's well, and then they go win the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of the times Vegas works in weird ways, and if a lot of people think a team's going to suck because of a reason like that, the team ends up doing better than everyone thought. And that's just gambling 101. Yep.
Let's move on to Minnesota. This is a team where I am about as far off of the win total as you can get. Their win total currently sits at 7. I am very down on Minnesota. I have them going 4-8. They have some really tough matchups. They go to North Carolina, which I think is a tough game, and then play a lot of their best competition on the road. They go at Iowa. They play at Ohio State. It's one of those things where I don't feel great about the Gophers this year. They don't have a phenomenal offensive line, which has been one of their strengths in the past. I have Minnesota at 4-8. What are your thoughts with
I got them at 4-8. I got them at 4-8 as well. And just looking through their schedule, I don't have them beating anyone of note. And there's got to be one team per conference that just loses all of the games that they're going to they're underdogs for. And I think that's Minnesota this year. They'll pick up 3 or 4 wins just because they're playing lesser competition. But yeah, nothing excites me about that team.
Yeah, I have them going 2-7 in the conference with wins against Northwestern and Michigan State. So nothing, nothing incredibly exciting. Sorry to all the Gopher fans out there. Let's move on to the Big Red, Nebraska, in what should be a new year, a new feeling, a new vibe within the program. You bring in Matt Rule, a guy who obviously he didn't succeed with the Panthers, but he has been very successful in college football before. He turned around a Baylor program that, quite frankly, was about as down bad as you could be with the Art Briles stuff that happens there, the suspensions and the loss of scholarships and all that sort of thing that went on within that Baylor program. He made Temple relevant for a long time. What are your thoughts on Matt Rule and what he brings to this Nebraska fan base that, quite frankly, is one of the most passionate in the country?
Yeah, perfect hire. He embodies like the college football energy that you need in a head coach.
Yeah, a guy that just spits on his sweater vest. You can't beat that.
He reminds me of all the guys that are succeeding in college football right now. You know what I mean? He's got the personality. He's got the rapport with the players. He's got the recruiting ability, the booster ability.
They've been recruiting well for the 2024 class. They've been
they're going off, right? And that's why he's been able to pull these 180s with these teams is getting right into it recruiting wise. And again, we talked about this, we touched on it a little bit, but Raiola, if he went to Nebraska, I mean, we're looking at like a 1-year turnaround.
Special.
Like easily. I do have Nebraska making a bowl game, and I'm very happy to be predicting that because, again, that fan base has suffered. I have nothing against Nebraska. Like, I thought Scott Frost was a loser, and there have been teams in the past that have just been so bad that it frustrates me, and I want them to fail. But this year, I think they have a good, decent squad, and I like Rule in college, and rejoice, Nebraska fans. I feel like get excited. I have them going 6-6, granted, but making a bowl game.
Yeah, I have them.
They don't do that much.
I have them going 7-5. I feel pretty good about Nebraska. I think they win. For anybody who is in the younger crowd, which is probably most of the people listening here, you may or may not remember Big 12 Nebraska and Big 12 Colorado. Them playing in week 2 with Deion Sanders on the sideline and Matt Rule at Nebraska is going to be fireworks. I cannot wait for that game. It's going to be unbelievable. They're bringing back Casey Thompson, who at week 1, the internet may have week 0, the internet may have overreacted a little bit and given him the Heisman prematurely. But he has shown signs of life. And with what Matt Rule's been able to do, he's brought in a couple transfers. I feel really solid about Nebraska. Their win total is 6.5. I have them at 7-5. I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. Nebraska, I think you are going to have a team that you can be proud of, and a path forward that makes you feel good about your program. I really do.
Yeah, and I also am pissed at myself because I have them at 7-5. I was looking at the wrong team, and I would have loved to have been able to clip that because now I feel bad about having them at 6-6 because I don't.
Nicky dipshits, you just can't get it.
I swear to God, because again, they're playing. Their schedule's not that bad at all. Like it's honestly, in my opinion, the easiest in the Big Ten.
They play
I feel like 8-4 is possible.
Yeah, I would agree. Like they get Michigan at home, which I still don't have them winning that game. But you get Maryland at home, you get Iowa at home.
I got them losing to Michigan, Maryland, Michigan State, and then the rest are all kind of toss-ups in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
I think this Nebraska team could be a lot of fun to watch. I don't have them competing for a Big Ten West title, but I think they are going to be fun to watch. Let's hit the next squad in. So this is a team that we do have some news for in Northwestern. So since we recorded our first podcast episode of the season, where we broke down some of the offseason news. We briefly talked about the Pat Fitzgerald hazing allegations. Those have kind of come to full circle. So essentially what has happened since that point, which if you have not watched that episode, go back and watch it and then rewatch it maybe 2 or 3 times, play it to your kids, show your friends, get the views up on the YouTube channel. But if you have not seen it, essentially Pat Fitzgerald went from being suspended 2 weeks to he has now been fired by the University of Northwestern, and he is going to fight it. He claims, that he didn't know any of that was going on. We have now had players come out with a letter essentially supporting their current head coach. A lot of past players coming out and essentially saying, hey, look, I was in that locker room for 5 years and never saw an ounce of this. It's really
there's a lot of drama. I wish there was a reality TV show covering Northwestern right now. Just because, again, if you listen to the last episode, we touched on it just very slightly and talked about what the allegations were. And I didn't know, but Cody was telling me it's like, the guys are stripping nude and making people do like the sprinkler or like run through the car wash of naked dicks. And things that you can't even imagine if you weren't told that that's something that would ever happen. And so it doesn't surprise me that old players are coming out and saying this has never happened, because shit like that, in my head just can't be real. And there can't be that much of a difference between, at least in today's era, right? Maybe in the 70s where there could be a bunch of differences in locker rooms across the nation. But right now, there's no way that this Big Ten school is doing abusive, terrible hazing, and no other teams are even doing anything close. That just doesn't compute in my head. So that's why it's just a fascinating thing that I'm following. But that being said, I don't think that Pat Fitzgerald should coach that team, because they've sucked for the entirety of his time there. So
it's one of those where it's what do you expect? Northwestern's field doesn't have lights. How good do you expect them to be? You know what I mean? 500, making a bowl is a good year for Northwestern.
Right. But and it still is weird to me that they're even in the Big Ten. I've always, literally since I was in 3rd grade, just been they just feel like an outcast there, in all sports. But again, there's just so much drama going on, and I don't think that they have the talent, coaching, facilities, or anything that you need to sort of motivate and be you know what, the media is saying this, but we're going to go prove them wrong, and we're going to have this great season and prove all the doubters wrong. I think Northwestern goes winless.
So I do not have them winless. However, before the Pat Fitzgerald news, their win total was at 3.5, which is just abysmal. They won one game last year. The only game that they won in Ireland on foreign soil. They did not win a single game in America. The best player on their roster, as far from a recruiting standpoint goes, their linebacker, who was a 4-star commit, has announced that he has entered the transfer portal. They've had, I think, at least a half a dozen players from the class of 2024 decommit. This is a program that is in shambles right now. We don't know what's going to happen. This is going to take a long time to resolve itself, and it's not going to resolve itself this season. I have Northwestern winning one game. I have them beating Howard at home, and that is. Yeah,
it took me a while. I was thinking about that game for a while. I was like, should Northwestern? They'll probably win this one, and then I was like, no, because it's earlier in the season, right? When is it?
It's week 6. It's not.
6? That's weird. I feel like I remember it being 3 or 4.
Well, they start with they open up the Big Ten play because they played Northwestern at Rutgers or whatever. They signed that deal to play the first Big Ten game of the year every year in week 0. So I don't.
Yeah. Whatever. Regardless, I made my predictions 2 weeks ago, and this is kind of before Fitzgerald even got fired. I watched them play last year, They won one game, and I think they got worse. So, 0.
They are terrible.
Yeah, they're really bad. And it's also crazy that how many teams have we done? Because we started at the letter I, and now we're at the letter N. And I think we're like almost done, right?
Yep, we have 5 teams remaining, so we're halfway there. Before we get to Ohio State,
we're more than halfway, right? Because there's how many teams in the Big Ten? Like 14 now.
Yeah, we are more than halfway there. But if you made it this far into the podcast before we get to Ohio State and Penn State, we don't have ads. We don't do shit like that because we're cool. We want ads, but we don't have any sponsors yet. So until that point, the best way to support us is by subscribing. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast, whether you listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you may listen to your podcast. And then be a friend and tell a friend. Go share it with somebody. But let's get into Ohio State. I think we may be a little different here. Ohio State is going to compete for, the best spot in the Big Ten, or at least that's what their fans are hoping. Their win total is currently sitting at 10.5. Ohio State plays a 2-game schedule in my mind. I take that back. They play a 3-game schedule. They play at Notre Dame in South Bend, which should be an incredible game. They play Penn State at home, and then they play Michigan in the Big House. I think the rest of the games are the shoo-ins, and I think those 3 are really going to be contentious for Ryan Day, who, say what you will, are we sure he's a great coach? Because that's what Ohio State wants, is a great coach. Not a good coach, a great coach, an elite coach.
I think Ryan Day is a fantastic coach, and he is he's under a microscope at all times. But I think this year, he'll prove some of those doubters wrong. Funny enough, I have them losing 1 game, and it's to Notre Dame. So go you. You're probably happy.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Again, I think that is potentially the game of the year in college football. And we haven't talked about Notre Dame. We need to get 150 subscribers before we do that. But I will talk about them later. But I do really, really like Notre Dame this year. And I just don't know. I guess young QB for Ohio State going into that atmosphere. When's the last time you guys played each other at all?
Last year.
Well, in the regular season was last year.
Yeah. Last year we played in the regular season because we played. I believe it was week 2 or week 1. It was early. Which Notre Dame had a lead in the second half.
I remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah, but Ohio State's defense came through. I mean, they played well. I'm gonna be honest here as a Notre Dame fan. I do not have Notre Dame winning that game. What concerns me and what I think is one of the best ways to be an Ohio State team that has a phenomenal offense. They are going to throw the ball over the field. Their wide receivers are the best in the nation by a large, large margin. Washington is second, but I don't think it's incredibly close. If you want to win, you do not let the wide receivers get the ball in their hands, and the way you do that is by getting to Kyle McCord before he is ready. Notre Dame's defensive line is not something I have a ton of confidence in this year, so I have them winning that game in South Bend. I actually have Ohio State losing to Michigan in the rivalry weekend, and that's it. I got them going 11-1. I feel pretty good about Ohio State. So we have the same record, just not.
Well, I got them going 12-1 because I got them winning the
Big Ten
East. And then, obviously it's annoying because we haven't gotten to Wisconsin yet, but there's no one from the Big Ten West that is a threat in my eyes to Ohio State.
You could put in any team. You could put in the best defense and the best offense from 2 different teams, and you still might not be able to beat whatever team comes out of the East. I'm gonna say that Ohio State is not playing in the Big Ten championship.
Therefore, you don't have them in the playoffs.
I do not have them in the playoffs.
I haven't decided because I have a lot of teams with 1 loss, so I have them hovering right there. You'll have to tune into all the other conference breakdowns as well, but I'll tell you, I have Ohio State at 4 or 5 right now.
We will do our playoff predictions prior to the start of the season. We got to wait until we got to see some camp buzz. We got to see who wins some quarterback battles. before we set that in stone.
Yeah, I don't have anything in stone. Nothing.
It's July. It's July. We got time.
I'm guessing right now. I'll feel more confident later.
Yep. So I have Ohio State just on the outside looking in, but let's talk about a team that I have in the college football playoff. The Penn State Nittany Lions. So this is not going to be a you're not going to be surprised about how I feel about this team. I feel great. I think Drew Aller is him. I think Drew Aller is different. I think Drew Aller is special. I like what I saw from this team last year, offensively and defensively, and in the biggest moments when their quarterback, didn't shine as bright as he could have. I think Drew Aller is going to be that guy. They have what might be one of the best running back tandems in college football. I think Nick Singleton, out of all of the running backs in college football, might have the best chance to win the Heisman. I think Quinshad Judkins is the best running back in college football, but he plays on Ole Miss, which I don't have them winning as many games as Penn State does. I think Drew Aller is going to be special. I think we are going to be talking about how Caleb Williams and Drake May are obviously going to be the guys in this draft class, followed probably by Michael Penix or Bo Nix, whoever. I think when we're talking about the draft class after, we're going to be talking about Drew Aller. I think we are going to be talking about him as a legit NFL guy. I have them going 11-1 with their only loss being to Ohio State at home.
Ohio State. Penn State makes it in over Ohio State.
So let's be as a quick recap for my situation here. I have all three of the best teams in the Big Ten going 11-1, and looking through the tiebreakers, essentially that would come down to a coin flip, unless they go by like out of conference scheduling or something weird. Which I looked through I looked through the how they decide the Big Ten, and they don't use out of conference in that. However, I don't know what the selection committee will decide, right? Because what's going to hurt Michigan is their out of conference schedule. It's absolutely dog shit. Ohio State plays Notre Dame out of conference, which is a great, great game. Penn State's out of conference, not very good, to be very honest. They play UMass and Delaware, who are just absolutely terrible, but they do play West Virginia in week 1, which is at least better than what Michigan has. So I have Penn State in the college football playoff. I don't know, but the win total is 10. I will take the over, or 9.5.
Yeah,
the win total is 9.5. I will take the over.
So yeah, I mean, you have Penn State beating Michigan, Michigan beating Ohio State, and Ohio State beating Penn State. So
yep.
That would be insane if that ends up happening.
Clusterfuck. I just want to will it into existence more than anything. I think I just want.
Yeah, and again, I have Penn State beating Michigan. I have them losing to Ohio State. I also have them losing to Maryland, because again, I am high on Maryland. I like Maryland a lot this year.
Yep.
And then we just went over it, but I have Michigan State beating Penn State, and again, it's different when it's going to be played in an NFL stadium. It's going to be a different vibe. I'm guessing it won't be primarily Michigan State fans there even at that point, just because I'm thinking college is going to be on winter break by then, whatever,
yep.
Thanksgiving break, whatever it is. So I and it's so early, it's July, so I'm not planning to just change it right now. But tentatively, I do have Penn State at 9-3, losing that game at the end of the year. But I think that there's a chance I put them at 10-2. But again, I feel like fluky shit happens sometimes, man. It's the Big Ten especially. I feel like better Penn State teams have lost to worse teams. You know what I mean? Like
you're not wrong in the slightest.
And like when you make predictions, I my whole life have always tried to stray away from the ESPN nonsense where it's like, oh, let's try to be like make our predictions so no one will get mad and everyone will be like, that makes sense. No, Let's get some controversy in there. So yeah, maybe I have some teams losing to teams they shouldn't, but I might stand by it. We'll see. But yeah, for now, Penn State 9-3. Although I'm with you. We talked about Drew Aller. I think he's the best of the young bunch. Maybe him or Joe Milton, but not that Joe Milton's young. But
best of the new crowd.
The new crowd, better wording. And I'm expecting big things from Penn State. I think fluky shit happens. So
yeah. So let's talk about Purdue. Okay, never mind. Let's talk about Purdue. Purdue is going to be an interesting team. They got a new head coach, right? The former defensive coordinator for Illinois. Losing Jeff Brom is big. They lost some transfers, but they also got Hudson Card. Purdue's win total is 5, which was very, very surprising to me.
I didn't know that, but that's where I have them. So
okay, so what are your thoughts on this Purdue squad?
Yeah, I like Hudson Card, but I think that he's. I feel like I don't know. He's been hovering around long enough where I've seen him in bits and pieces, and I've always just been like, oh, he's good, but there's nothing special there. Whereas I think some people are higher on him, and he hasn't gotten his true chance yet, and this is it. It's no, I think what we've seen is what we're gonna get. And Purdue to me reminds me of an Illinois, Indiana type of team that just doesn't scream football, Yep. It screams basketball. And
it's a basketball school.
Exactly. And for that reason, they're not funneling recruits. They're not a transfer destination. They wear black and beige and are the Boilermakers. It's an engineering school. I don't know. I just feel like it's not an exciting place, and having not looked into it that much because I didn't want to bore myself, I have them at 5-7.
I'm a little different. I have Purdue at 7-5. I have a couple coin flip games. I mean, I have them beating Illinois. I have them beating Nebraska. If you switch those two, then there you go. You get your 5-7. So I don't think it's. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that Purdue goes bowling, but if you were to say, hey, they don't, I also wouldn't be surprised about that either. This is probably one of the teams that I am the least confident in just because there is so much new in this program. Let's talk about a program that is one of the oldest in college football, in Rutgers. Their win total is 4.5. I'm going to keep this I have them at 5-7. I have them starting out 3-0. They play Northwestern, Temple, and Virginia Tech. All of those games at home. But yeah, Rutgers.
Yeah, see, that's tough because I have Northwestern and Virginia Tech bottom barrel of the two conferences we've gone over. Mm-hmm. But I have Rutgers going 3-9. So that means they're losing to Temple, according to me. And, which, again, Rutgers is bad enough to do it. Rutgers is bad enough to lose to Temple.
Yep.
And then maybe they'll pick up one slimy conference win because it's the Big Ten and weird shit happens.
I have them beating Indiana
yeah,
and Northwestern in conference.
It's a shame because Rutgers, the original owner of the MacGuffin, right?
Yeah. Shout out Tyler Budd, TF. Fuck, what is his at? His name's Tyler. I think it's CF Budge on TikTok, but cool dude.
Yeah, CF Budge, give him a follow. But yeah, I mean, it's such a historic team that has just they're useless now, and it's the type of team where it's I'll look at my Saturday lines, on DraftKings and be like, should I bet on Rutgers plus 49.5 against Ohio State today?
Yeah.
Is that should I? Yeah. And then I'm probably not.
That or you do that stupid thing where you're like, oh, I like this team against the spread, and then I'm just going to parlay them with whoever plays Rutgers. And
right. Yeah, and then that win. One time, it actually looks good. Rutgers wins, but
yep.
Yeah, I mean, we're at this like stretch of teams where I just don't like. I don't think there's going to be a single Rutgers football fan listening to this, just because, like, just if you go there, you probably aren't like wreathing with excitement for this season or just extremely passionate about this team, and yeah, for that reason, I don't care about them. I have them going 3-9. I'm sorry, Rutgers.
That's fair. Actually, I want to get a good idea of who you are a fan of. So if you are watching this on YouTube, comment who your favorite team is. I'm genuinely curious. I want to see what our subscriber base is looking forward to this football season. Comment your team. I will make a video to each and every comment. I will personally
honestly
respond.
Watch it be.
We just have like 15 Rutgers fans. That'd be sick.
That's what I was gonna say. I can imagine every subscriber is just a Rutgers diehard. Everyone commenting is like, "Yeah, Rutgers fan here."
Yeah.
Like,
I would love that. Go Scarlet Knights. Last team is the Wisconsin Badgers, and another team that's very similar to Nebraska in the fact that they have so much new head coach in Luke Fickell, which I think was the best hire of the college football offseason, that is, at least in terms of head coaching. But he also made another phenomenal hire in Phil Longo, the former offensive coordinator of North Carolina, now the offensive coordinator of Wisconsin. They brought in Tanner Mordecai from SMU to be their quarterback. He is now transferred in. I am ready to watch something outside of the Power I in Wisconsin and Camp Randall Stadium. I think this year is going to be a lot of fun for the Wisconsin Badgers.
Yeah, I think their offense is obviously been needed of a jolt for a while. So I'm excited to finally get to see it. We're going to get some pro-style vibes for the first time, like ever.
Yep.
And again, I like that you said Tanner Mordecai because I think that he's underrated. He's a top 3 quarterback in the conference, in my opinion. He was just hiding down there in SMU. I do think that's a bold take. I do, but that's my take.
I don't hate it. Do I trust him more than J.J. McCarthy is the question. But I don't hate that take.
Do I trust him more than Kyle McCord is my question.
Okay.
Yeah, but so I'm a fan of Wisconsin for that reason. UNC's offense has been really good lately. They've really, really developed quarterbacks over there with that offensive coordinator. And now he's working with a vet and an experienced head coach who's been in a college football playoff. I almost want to have Wisconsin like at 10 wins, but I can't do that. So I got them 9-4.
I have Wisconsin at 10 wins.
Nice.
You might not be able to, but I will do it.
If I didn't have Maryland at 10 wins, it'd be a different story. But I can't get too bold.
That's fair. Well, the good news is Wisconsin and Maryland don't play each other, so you don't have to worry about that matchup at least. But I feel really good about this team. Braylon Allen is going to be a stud running back this year. That offensive line has a ton of experience. And Phil Longo has gotten Drake May to be one of the top prospects in this year's NFL draft, and he got Trubisky drafted at number 2 overall. Like, what are we? That doesn't happen by accident. He has been great for UNC, and I expect him to be great for Wisconsin. So I have Wisconsin going 10-2 with losses to Illinois at Illinois and then Ohio State. But I think Wisconsin is going to be a very, very fun team. I got them in the Big Ten championship and losing, obviously, but. Wisconsin fans are going to come out of this season very, very excited.
Yeah, I mean, I got them losing to Ohio State twice, and then Iowa, and then the bold one is Nebraska, the battle of the new Big Ten head coaches that I like a lot.
That's right.
And, I mean, like you said, Braylon Allen, I think, not to get crazy, maybe it's getting late, but I think there's a great, fantastic chance that Braylon Allen, at the end of the year, we look back and we're like, well, the best running back in the Big Ten was Braylon Allen instead of Blake Corum. I think there's a fantastic chance that happens.
I mean, the 3 guys between Corum, Singleton, and Allen, the Big Ten is stacked at running back.
Yeah, Singleton I love, but he's going to be, I think, splitting
Yeah, he is going to be
read.
his the guy behind, which same with Corum, right? Is that he has Donovan Edwards behind him. So like I could see like if Braylon Allen led the Big Ten in rushing this year, I would not be shocked.
Yeah, I think Braylon Allen's going to have Jonathan Taylor-esque season, and
wow,
yep,
damn.
I do. And get himself drafted pretty high, and then have a good NFL career. I like Braylon Allen. I like this Wisconsin team, and again, if like I want to make them 10-2, I really do, and I want them to win that Big Ten championship too. How great would that be if they finish?
That would be awesome.
Like 11-2, it's awesome. Like, oh my God, they get that Rose Bowl spot over Michigan. Oh my God.
Imagine if you had 3 11-1 teams on like the right side, and then you have Wisconsin at like 10-2 or 9-3, but they win the Big Ten West anyway, and you're just like,
then what do you do, right?
What the fuck? It's like, all these teams beat each other, but the winner of that wasn't good enough to beat Wisconsin.
By like mid-late October, when we can start talking about like the crazy what ifs, where it's like, what if there's 17 teams that are 11-1? What do you do?
Hell yeah! Oh my God, I can't wait.
That's going to be amazing when we get there. So, but for now, I got Wisconsin 9-4, which is still a fantastic season for them.
Absolutely. If you want to see our in-season content, because it's going to be nothing short of absolutely electric, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe. We are still doing, if we get 150 subscribers, we will drop our Notre Dame prediction video. So make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button. Be a friend. Tell a friend. We are going to do... Nick, what do you want to do next? What do you want to do next?
What do the people want to see? Do they want to see the SEC? I feel like they might.
Okay, so the SEC will be our next conference prediction. So if you are a fan of SEC football, make sure you give us a subscribe because that will be one that I can promise you will not want to miss. But Nick, make sure you follow Nick. Nick during the day. All of his socials are tagged below. Absolutely electric. Give me a follow as well at Smash Hit Sports on all platforms. And we will see you in the next one.